Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. We are built by Sparkies for Sparkies. Our vision is clear: make money, build wealth, be kind. Our mission is deliberate. We help electrical, solar, and aircon business owners generate revenue, drive profits, and control their time. If you would like to hear more about our program, please reach out. I'll chuck the link in the show notes and enjoy the podcast. We always hope it's beneficial for your business. We hope it cuts through noise and helps you understand what's important and what's non-negotiable. Thanks so much for all your support so far. We appreciate you. We love you. Enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach Pod, the Crowe Show, coming at you for part 2. Don't ignore these 5 huge red flags that could destroy your business. Now, while the title might seem incredibly dramatic and SEO pleasing, no doubt, it's so true. And this is sort of part 2. So I'd encourage anyone that hasn't listened to part 1 when we talked about the 5 red flags being: number 1, you're not making money and it's been like this for a while. Number 2, you can't pay your bills on time. Number 3, you are consistently putting in your own money, or you've taken out an additional personal loan or borrowed money to sort of fund the business. Number 4, you are working 60 hours per week and there is no end in sight. Number 5, you are working with the wrong people. That's the 5 huge red flags. And I think we'd all agree that continuing down that path would be disastrous to your personal well-being, your mental health, your financial well-being, your personal wealth, your business operations, your business life, your life. And although it's hard to differentiate, you are not your business. Your business is an entity. You are a human. And while the two work together, they are completely separate. And I really want... That's an identity crisis issue. I said the other day in one of our sessions, I think a lot of people don't have a time crisis. They have an identity crisis where you're sort of so wrapped up in the business, in the day-to-day operations, this is my name on the account. And I was talking to one of our big dogs in Sparky Coach, and he named his electrical business after himself. And he was like, I've got this identity crisis issue. And I was like, I've got the same thing. And my business is called Sparky Coach. And it's so interesting that, just because it's named after you or not named after you doesn't necessarily mean that you can't not entwine yourself with it so easily. But number 6, we're going to confront the 6th red flag that could destroy your business and harm your business and cause you personal harm and business harm and so much between the headspace. Get this. All right, I hope you're sitting down. But if you're not sitting down, maybe grab a cup of coffee. Here we go. Number 6, you are aware of an issue and you don't do anything about it. Let me say that again. You are aware of an issue and you don't do anything about it. You are aware. It's brought to your attention. It's brought to your knowledge. And I often think the trade gods or God or the electrical gods or some form of God or Baal or whatever you worship, often, have you ever been in those situations in life and you stumble across a podcast, you stumble across a conversation, you stumble across a phone call, you stumble across a person, you stumble across something and you needed that at that point in time? You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like, thank God I bumped into that person. That was the right time. That was the right time to have my conversation. That was the right time to have that conversation. That has changed the course, changed the trajectory of my life. And I love what Charlie Munger says. Every night, go to bed a little bit smarter than when you wake up. I was even listening to a podcast this morning and I felt like this guy was talking straight at me. Have you ever felt like that? I'm like, oh my gosh, I am the most insecure human that's ever lived. Thank you for pointing this out. And I just think this is a moment in time for you where if you listen to that last podcast and you resonated with one of those 5, and no doubt you would have resonated with one. Some of you would have scored 100%. I got some messages and I haven't been lit up like that. I can't remember what he said. He said, thanks for lighting me up. And I got a whole bunch of messages saying that really spoke to me. And I want to say this, cool, but that doesn't mean anything. When are you going to change? That's cool. And yeah, I'm grateful and glad that you were challenged because it was challenging conversation. But the challenge needs to bring change. There's no point just being challenged and being like, Oh, yeah, it really spoke to me. Yeah, I haven't been making money and it has been like that for a while, but she'll be right. Plow on, play on. It's half time, it's 0-all. We're running after it. So it has to cause, the challenge must cause change. And to bury your head in the sand consistently and continually is not a resolve. There is no substitute for early intervention. Now, what constitutes early intervention? And some would say now is the earliest it's ever going to be. You know what I mean? So, but I'm so behind in this, I'm so behind. I don't know how I can ever catch up. Cool. Well, now is potentially the easiest it's going to be. It's like having a really hard conversation. You got to have, you got to have those hard conversations. I've got to have this hard conversation with someone. But you know what? I'm just going to go play golf. I'm going to go surfing. I'm going to keep working really hard. I'm going to delay that conversation. Now, does that hard conversation get easier or does that hard conversation get harder? And no doubt it gets harder. It gets more under time pressure. It gets more under the spotlight. It's bubbling up under the surface. It's like the iceberg theory. The 10% I can see gets larger and larger and larger and larger. So my challenge to you is you need to change. If something's wrong, you need to change. If there's been a consistent transaction that's false or wrong or incorrect, or the business isn't going in the direction that you want it to go in, guess who's the captain? I'm the captain now. You look at yourself in the mirror and you be like, I'm the captain now. I'm going to turn this damn bus around and we're going to change. So I'm going to give you, I pointed out in the last podcast, the 5 red flags, huge red flags that could destroy your business or harm your business. I pointed out the symptoms and it was very symptom focused. But today we're going to go through what can you do about it? Like what action points can you actually do? There's no point just being aware. You've got to be aware. Yes, and awareness is maybe 70% of the battle, but there's those last little action points. I can be aware that I'm eating unhealthy, aware that I need to exercise, but I need to action that. Awareness will only get you so far. And it might even make you feel a little better or feel a little bit not so alone, but it's not going to bring home the bacon, right? Just knowing that you are unfit is not going to make you fit. What's going to make you fit is getting into the gym, getting into running, getting into surfing, getting into golf. Does golf make you fit? I don't know. Does anyone know? No one knows. So awareness is part of the battle. It's a large part of the battle, but something might need to change. All right, I want to just say this. I said this in part 1. Business is no joke. This is no joke. You are strapped in for the ride of your life. It's going to show you your insecurities, your ego. It's going to bring up childhood trauma. It's going to bring up your fear of success, your fear of failure. It's going to bring up every little thing and every part of your being. It's going to challenge your fibers. It's going to challenge the way you like to do things may not be correct. The way you think about things might be false. The way you challenge something, you might need to be challenged yourself. So often we think other people are dickheads, and guess what? Sometimes we are the dickhead. So it's going to challenge every fiber of you. It's going to challenge your hard work versus smart work. It's going to challenge your work ethic. It's going to challenge your resilience. It's going to challenge your people skills. Every single fiber in your body is going to be challenged. And the goal is that we're not going to be perfect. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, but the goal is that you would be growing as a person, growing as a business. And I think that's super cool. The goal for us is always to drive revenue, drive profits, and control your time. It's very, very simple, very simple. So business is no joke. You can win big, you can lose big. We talk a lot about what can go right, and we share these stories of people making millions of dollars, and that's cool, and that's true, and that's awesome. But there's also the dark side, which is I might be making that much money, but I'm not happy. Or I might be nowhere near that money and I'm not happy. And I wouldn't sacrifice all the money in the world for my personal life. So how do you find the balance in and amongst these things? And all right, cool. We've got to get into it. Point number 1. So the whole thing of this is you're aware of an issue and now we need to do something about it. So red flag number 1 is this. You are not making money and it's been like this for a while. So if you're sitting there resonating with that, I'm not making money, it's been like that for a while. What are we going to do about this? Now, we're pretty heavy on a market wage. So what could you earn for someone else? Probably 100, 120 grand on tools, 120 to 150 off tools plus super, something very typical like that. So what could you earn for someone else? That's the foundational earning. If you're earning less than that, that's not okay. You need to pay yourself a market wage. This needs to come out in wages. It's so incredibly important. This comes out as a wage. Why is it important? If it comes out as a wage, you'll be chipping into your pay-as-you-go tax, which might be monthly and it might be quarterly. Now, make no mistake, we're going to payday super in July 1. So that means as your wages are due, super is also due. Now, this is I feel like it's strategic by the ATO to be just so people don't get caught behind. This is a smart move for you. Make no mistake, this is a smart move for you because you're not going to get lumped with some $30,000 quarterly super bill. Now, I feel like they're going to go to pay same day pay as you go. So if you pay wages of 20 grand and there's a $6,000 income tax bill, eventually, probably in the next 1 to 3 years, you should be gearing up for this. Now, how do you gear up for this early? You start to, if you've got 20 grand in wages, 10 grand in wages, 5 grand in wages, a portion of that's going to be super, of course. Another portion is going to be income tax. So get another account set up and transfer it into there. And when the BAS bill comes in, the monthly IAS comes in, you are ready to pay this, and it is a surprise to no one. If you've ever been surprised by a tax bill, you are a massive kook. Let me say that again. That would have hit home. If you've ever been surprised by a tax bill, you are a massive kook. And I say that because you need to educate yourself on taxation and how company tax works and how personal tax works, and essentially just a portion of what you've earned or a portion of what you've been taken. And if you don't like what's been taken, they're taking too much money, it's irrelevant. Like there's statutory laws that are in place that govern this sort of stuff. So it's irrelevant to how you feel about it, and definitely relevant to that's what it is. This is what it is. Now, I say that not to discourage you. I say this to empower you. If you can just I promise you, you could take 1 day off and be highly aware of your financial situation. 1 day. So all this stress and anguish that you cause, in 1 day, it is solved. Your goal should be market wage with a business net profit of 20 to 35%. Now, arguably, and maybe not so arguably, the greatest measure of any business is gross profit and gross profit per hour. And that's huge, huge. We put a lot of emphasis on net and as much emphasis behind the scenes on gross. Gross profit will essentially tell you what comes in revenue versus what is billable labor and materials, or like on-costed subcontractors, plant and equipment, like any kind of sort of billable thing, like a billable labor and materials. So it's a direct, gross profit is maybe your purest metric of the direct exchange between revenue and labor and materials. It is a pure exchange of what's happening on site. Now, as we dive deeper into jobs, gross profit per hour is the best metric. We do so much quoting with people, so much quoting help here at Sparky Coach. What you'll see is pretty typical. You'll see that gross profit per hour across a project might be $30 to $70 per hour, something like that, like whatever. Sorry. When I say that, I talk net. Net profit per hour might be $30 to $70 per hour. So gross profit might be whatever. Let's call it in that range. But so gross profit might be that on a project. On the exchange of the smaller service jobs, especially ones with small amount of hours, large amount of materials, you will see that gross and net profit per hour skyrocket through the roof. So if you've got a $20,000 job, and you make 20% net profit on it or 40% gross profit, and that's over 2 days, over 40 to 60 hours, that is going to be a huge gross or net per hour. If you take that $20,000 and put it to a standard electrical job, like a charcoal chicken shop, roughing and fit or something very, very simple, you're going to see a much lower return on investment for every hour you put in. Psycho when you see the numbers. Psycho. I should do a podcast on that. That'll come soon. Hopefully you get the gist. So What are you going to do? You haven't been making money and it's been like this for a while. Let me encourage you a couple of things. This might seem 101 and I don't know this, but if you to know and not to do is not to know. So maybe you're not as aware as you think you are. Revenue is not all yours. Just because it comes in doesn't mean you get to keep it. Just because it comes in doesn't mean you get to keep it. So how do you have a good year? You have a really good month. How do you have a good month? How do you have a good year? You have 4 good quarters. How do you have 4 good quarters? You have 12 good weeks. How do you have 12 good weeks? You have 1 good week 12 times. And how do you have a good week? You have multiple jobs in that week. So if you can simplify your mission down to, okay, what comes in isn't all mine, of what's working of that and what's not working. The smartest way to do that is what we call close a week. Every week you put every single job into our independent commission system, and it shows you what's working, what's not working, and if you got your hours in. Essentially, what jobs went well and what didn't, and did I or my team get the hours they were supposed to get in. So we measure every job and we measure every day. For the closed jobs, the ones you start and finish that week, it's very, very clear. It's clear as day. And for the open jobs, the ones that are ongoing, it's much harder to differentiate because you might have lumped a progress claim in that rough in early. You might miss some variations. You might change teams halfway through. You might be sporadically hitting this project from A to B to C to D to back to A, back to B. You're passing it from Jimmy to Susie, back to Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, oh, what happened at Ruffin? I don't know where this transformer is. And it's just like, so you might quote a project correctly, correct gross profit, correct net profit, and then you look at it and you're handling it like an absolute flog. And that's, so what I thought was going to happen, didn't happen. So we need to monitor that. So huge. So if you're not making money and it's been like this for a while, you just basically need to simplify your mission. How did today go? It's very, very hard to, this is most standard people will sit with an accountant once a year in April or May. And how did I go? Oh, you made this much money. Cool. Play on. Or if it's bad, what do I do to fix it? And that's when you're talking about a year's worth of data, it's so hard to understand where to start. What do I do? What's working? What's not working? What's going to really help you is closing the week and closing the month, which is patented Sparky Coach activity. Every month we look at what's actually happening. Every week we look at what's actually happening. And over 3 to 6 months, you've got a very clear picture of what's happening. And over the course of 5 to 10 years, you've got a huge understanding of and you're changing and you're chopping and you're making money. And if you made a market wage and a business net of 20 to 35% for 10 to 15 years, you'd be in a very, very, very healthy financial position. And a very healthy financial position, although money can't buy happiness, it's certainly going to help take a mental load off you. And it's certainly going to help when you've paid off your house and you've paid off your boat and you've got a commercial factory and your super's in place and you set your work hours. I promise you, your life will feel very different. And then it's going to be a matter of it's not what I'm getting up to make money. It's like, no, what am I getting up for? You find that deeper drive, that purpose where it's like, I help people. We change people's lives. How do we do that? We provide the best service. It's easy to work with. We're organized. We're diligent. We're safe. We're clean. Our team culture is amazing. We're changing the industry's view of electrical, aircon, solar, and our staff are so stoked to come to work. So huge. So don't underestimate finding that inner purpose and drive. Drive will carry you so far and purpose will do the rest. So it's good to have that drive, but when you're getting up for an actual reason, I know why I'm getting up, and aside from money, this is why I go to work. That's super cool. Super cool. So if you're not making money, it's been like that for a while, take a day off, start to measure things, reach out to us. We'll show you the right direction to going in that. But just sometimes you got to slow down to speed up. Number 2, you can't pay your bills on time. You can't pay your bills on time. And this is incredibly interesting in the scheme of things because often, go with me here, and I would have said this a lot in the first pod, you get a wholesaler bill for $20,000 and you might let that lapse for another 30 days. So let's call January. So January bill is $20,000. You get the statement on February 1 and you might pay that March 1. So you got 60 days of free money, and then you put that on your Amex in March 1, and that statement might come in April 1, and then you've got 55 days to pay it. So something you bought on January 5 might be billable, might be coming out of your account sometime in May or June. Crazy, right? Even tax, right? Something you paid for in tax now comes out in your BAS statement 3, 4, 5 months down the track. So there's this seed time and harvest in an incredibly negative sense. Company tax is due April or May, from the financial year before. So you can be 12 to 18 months delayed in paying this. And yes, there's regular installments that come in, which are your friend. That's your friend because so you don't get caught out. And it's so important to be on top of this stuff because you can think you've got a whole lot of money in the account, but you don't have anything in the account. Staff leave is another thing. I remember when it came to sell my business, I was incredibly shocked at how much I owed the staff members. Oh, this person's got this much annual leave. This person's got this. They're entitled to this. Oh my gosh. Like, I didn't realize that there was $40,000 of stuff that just wasn't mine in the account. It's so good to be aware of this stuff. So what do you do in this situation? One thing we're introducing into Sparky Coach is what we call a financial audit. So every 3 months, we're going to go around to everyone behind the scenes and ask them the questions. Is your company tax paid and up to date? Is your BAS paid and up to date? Is your personal tax paid and up to date? How much money is in your account? How much is in outstanding? How much owes to you? How much do you owe to the wholesaler? How much do you owe to the ATO? How much do you owe to employee liabilities? It's an incredibly thorough overview. It takes about an hour, 60 to 90 minutes. And now we are aware of our financial position. It's no good just to bury your head in the sand. You need to be aware of the ramifications of continually digging yourself a hole. Now, do you need to be a member of a Sparky Coach to do that yourself? Of course not. You can do all this stuff yourself. And I encourage you to take a day off and simply write down what's coming in and what's going out or what needs to go out into the future. We need to be aware of this stuff. It's a simple math. You can do it on an A4 bit of paper. You can do it on a spreadsheet. You can do it on the sexiest budget ever. It's irrelevant to the fact that it has to get done regularly. It has to get done regularly. Now, listen up, project people here. One project, one misquote can cook you for years. One misquote or two misquotes of $1 million job or a $500,000 job can cook you for years. Can cook you for years. Be very, very, very careful quoting things that are incredibly outside your skill set, incredibly outside your knowledge, or that you're a little bit uncomfortable with, or that you don't know the person, that you can't call them or call someone that works there and be like, hey, we need to talk about this. Very, very, very important who you work with, right? Huge. So if you can't pay your bills on time, there is usually a reason, and there's that seed time and harvest in a negative sense. And especially if you can't pay your bills on time and you're taking out owner drawings for a large mortgage or a large personal expenditure, something might need to change here. No one on earth likes hearing, hey, you need to stick to a business budget and a personal budget. No one on earth likes hearing you need to spend less than you earn. And then everyone's major comeback is, are you telling me not to buy avocado on toast? As if that's going to help me to save for a house anyway. And you just get this real negative loop of people that are somehow hard done by, somehow the world owes you something, and well, I'm not getting paid enough and this kind of stuff. And that's your fault. That's your fault. You need to find a way to earn more money, spend less money, or the holy grail, which is earn more money and spend less money. And then you're in a much better financial position. If your earning capacity is capped, you might be the problem. Like, I really want you to hear this. I think this is empowering. If your earning capacity is capped or you're consistently behind on paying things, you're probably the problem. And replace probably the problem with definitely the problem. And the coolest thing about business is you are both the problem and the solution. All right, number 3, you are consistently putting in your own money or you've taken out an additional loan. So if you're consistently putting in money to the business, Wow, you've got to be really careful. If you're putting in money for just foundational stuff like wholesaler bills or wages for staff or BAS and all this kind of stuff, the business might not be making what you think. So you need to check what the business is making. Am I taking too much of it? Some people are eating the pie and then complaining there's no pie left. So we had a cheesecake the other night, me and the boys and Elodie, and the Sara Lee traditional vanilla cheesecake. Guys, come on. What a time to be alive. I was just plowing this thing down like it was going out of fashion. Give me the cheesecake. I want the cheesecake. I ate the cheesecake. Now imagine if we ate the cheesecake and woke up the next day, I'm like, where's the cheesecake? It's the same thing with your finances and your money. A lot of times we're taking it and spending it, and then we're like, where is it? What happened to it? How did this happen to me? Woe is me. It's the government's fault. It's someone else's fault. It's my accountant's fault. It's definitely not my fault. It's everyone's fault but me. Everything sucks. Everything sucks except me. So if you're consistently putting your money in, draw a line in the sand. Do you know what you're taking from the business? Can the business sustain that? When do you stop doing this? And when do you start to get repaid? Is it worth it? And sometimes in business, you go through really hard seasons and you might have to put some money in. In that case, it's like there's got to be a line in the sand. I'll put some money in, but that will repay me by June, by July, by next June, by next July. So don't hear what I'm not saying. If you go through if it's seasonal and you're aware and you know when you're going to get paid back, it's very different to something that is just hamster wheelie. Keeps happening, keeps happening, keeps happening, keeps happening. All right, number 4, you are working 60 to 80 hours per week and there is no end in sight. Now, I'm all for hard work and hustle and drive. I'm all for that. I'm also all for smart work. Now, the classic E-Myth philosophy, if you're great book, the E-Myth, gets a bit of a hard time for some reason. I don't know, it's amazing. Basically, the classic line you'll hear from coaching companies all over the world is you've got to be working on the business and not in the business. You've got to be on the business, not in the business. And when you're in, you lack elevation. So you're sort of on the ground like a foot soldier, just running. I run that way, I'm gonna run that way, I'm gonna run this way. And you're working in and there's no end to hard work. That's the gripe here. Hard work is fantastic. It will only carry you so far. If you're on the tools or putting in all that effort by yourself, you have a capacity. You have a threshold of input that is capped and a threshold of quality of input. Can you consistently put in 60 to 80 hours per week at a quality level over a decade? Probably not. Over a year? Maybe. Over a decade? Maybe not. And maybe you could do it over a decade, but let's face it, that's going to cost you something. That's going to cost you some personal stuff you like doing, probably some quality family time, some time with your kids. There's going to be a sacrifice there for not just yourself, but the other people around you. So if you're working 60, 80 hours per week and there's no end in sight, it's so important to have that business on time. Your schedule or a time audit of your schedule, and I'm really pedantic about tracking my own time because I can look at my schedule and I can be like, there's 2 options when you look at your schedule. And I'd like to track myself within 15 minutes to an hour. So if I make calls, I'll put it on there. If I coach, I'll put it on there. If I'm doing a podcast, I'll put it on there. Everything goes onto my calendar so I can get a snapshot at the end of the week of how did I go? Did I work more than I thought? Did I work less than I thought? Of the hours I put in, were they quality? Now get this, slow down, listen up here. Maybe, just maybe, if you take one thing and one thing only out of this podcast, this is what I want you to take away. If you are busy and you're working 60 to 80 hours per week, let me just ask you, there's 2 ways this can go. One is you are incredibly productive for those times, and you might need to consider handing over some tasks. So one is, I'll look at my calendar. I am fully killing it. Every hour is quality. Every hour is a sign for. I'm on the ball. I'm organized. I'm disciplined. I'm diligent. I'm on fire like NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo. Who's on fire? Or she's on fire. I'm on fire. I'm killing it. And now that's a hiring indicator. So busy can be a hiring indicator. If you're busy and performing, and there's no room for error, it might be a hiring indicator. Now, this, I find more people fit into the second box. So if that's you, you would be a rare beast. If you're performing at a really high level consistently, and every hour is accounted for and you're killing it, you would be in the minority. I would say the 20%. The other 80%, you are busy 60 to 80 hours per week, 50 hours a week, insert busy here, and you are not producing a quality time or quality hours. So it's, I'm really busy, but your head's going from place to place, to space to space. Your body's going from space to space, to place to place. You are there, but you are not productive. You are on site, but you're not present. You're on the phone the whole time. You are in the office, but nothing's getting done because everything feels like you're a blimp head floating away into outer space. More people would resonate with that, I would say, especially in the trade world, in the service world, where all these phone calls are coming in and all this stuff's happening, and it's like, and it feels like you're getting attacked by all sides, like you're fighting Goro from Mortal Kombat, and Goro's just bamming you, and at the end of it, you're like, what on earth happened? Where did my time go? I can't believe it's Monday afternoon. I can't believe it's Friday afternoon. What did I accomplish this week? I was busy, and I did nothing of value. I worked a lot of hours and not much got done. And this is where you need to stop and take track of your time. And this is your time. And let me challenge you here. Let me challenge you. No one's coming to save your calendar. No one. No one. No one's coming to save your calendar. You need to be the savior of your calendar. It's huge. You maybe you need some accountability here. That's fine. That's totally fine. I often think as Sparky Coach, if I had my time again, I'd probably change the name and not be Sparky Coach. But like, we're almost another employee. We'll keep you accountable, 100%. We've recently endeavored down a personal development route where we catch up with members for half an hour every single week, and we just want to develop better humans. One thing I'm passionate about is I like helping people and businesses, and they're separate things. Although they're the same thing, sometimes, hopefully not all the time, they're separate things. So what do you resonate with? I'm killing it and I need to outsource, or fire, I need to get better managing my time. Now the drama is, if you're in the second boat and you're just not using your time well, you will take that to someone and you'll be like, I'm so busy. And they'll be like, you need to hire. And then you'll hire someone because you think it'll help, but you don't even know what you do. So now you're trying to tell someone else who's not as experienced as you what you think you might do and what you think you might be there. And it's like, well, I get you to do this. And you end up just being this full-time micromanager babysitter. And they're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? You know, oh, actually, can you dot that I? Oh, yeah, can you cross that T? And you were like, it's just easier when I did it myself. It was just easier. It was just easier if I did it. So it didn't work. The admin situation didn't work. Chances are you weren't dialed, you weren't organized. There were no processes or systems or ways to do things. And a process or a system, if you just thought about it really simply, it's just you getting out of your head onto a document. And a document is omnipresent, where you just have to be fully present where you are. A document. So let's just say, hey, here's how a cost plus invoice gets drafted. I'll film a loom for it. I'll put it on YouTube. Who cares what the hell you do with it? Here's what it needs to look like. Here's the data we extract. This is what it looks like. Cool. That lives on forever. And now your admin is like, what does a cost plus invoice look like? I'll pull up the template. Cool, like that. Yeah, that's what I've done. Tick, bang, on. Move on. Now just picture doing that cost plus invoice template 500 times across your 500 tasks. And while those 500 tasks feel incredibly overwhelming, and of course it does, that's like, how am I going to get time to do this? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? If you just did 3 a week, in 3 years, you're done. So the drama usually is there's got to be a lengthening of the time frame. So if you were going to criticize our Sparky Coach program, you would criticize it's too slow. It's too slow. And it's like, we're not in it for 3 to 6 months. That's not going to help no one. We're in it for the long haul. As long as you're buying and selling labor materials, there'll be finances to manage. There'll be items to process. There'll be people to manage. There's a whole lot of stuff to do here. It's crazy. So What boat do you fall in, and what are you going to do about it? I would encourage you to start a Google Calendar, start a bit of paper, doesn't matter what you do, but just be disciplined and diligent with sort of writing out what you do and then working out, was that non-negotiable? Can that go off to someone else? There's a really good podcast we did called Structuring Your Admin Day or Planning Your Admin Day, part 1 and part 2. That'll really help drive home what needs to happen here. All right, so number 5. I don't know if this is my favorite one. They're all my favorite. So we're talking about things you can do differently. We're not just hearing it and getting challenged. We're getting challenged so we can change. You are working with the wrong people. You are working with the wrong people. Red flag number 5, you are working with the wrong people. You are working with the wrong clients. You are working with the wrong staff. You are working with the wrong accountants, and you are working with the wrong coaches. Huge. You're just working with the wrong people. You're in and around an ethos that sucks. You're in and around people that suck. You're in and around people that are awesome, but they're difficult to deal with. And I think on this, when you're working with the wrong people, a couple of things, maybe not so much with the coaching. I think it's always first and foremost to blame yourself. I think it's be like, well, what could I have done differently here? I had a really good catch up with one of our employees yesterday, and we just realized, like, he's like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, this. And he's like, oh, cool, thanks. And I'm like, oh, that was easy. So it's so awesome. And he's so amazing. And I was like, oh, that time with him, it just sort of, that additional time with him per week will just fast track the growth of our company so well. And I'm so pleased to say at Sparky Coach, we're working with the right people and we've got the right clients on board. We have a 0 dickhead policy and a 0 tolerance, which we've never had to enforce because I think it's so vetted through the podcast and through our sales process and things like that. But if you're working with the wrong staff or wrong clients or wrong accountants or wrong coaching company or wrong whatever, you don't have to stay with these people. So firstly, challenge yourself. Is there something I coulda, woulda, shoulda done differently? Would I approach it in a different way next time? But sometimes it's just like, hey, this client sucks, needs to pay their bills on time. This staff member sucks. This accountant sucks. And often, you know, there's a couple of ways we can do it. Do you just fire really fast, or do you have a conversation? Hey, this is what I actually need. I need this from you. To your staff members, hey, this is what I need you to take this load off me. I need support here. Your accountant, hey, what's actually included here? Because I feel like I'm not really getting anything. And I often just say, like, when you work with the weapons, have you ever had someone come on board your staff or just meet someone and you're like, bam, aligned, we're on? That's how business should feel. You're working with people you like, you're working for people you like, and you're just enjoying yourself. You know, it's not going to be easy and it's not all smooth sailing, but there's certain rocky roads and four-wheel driving you can avoid if you put some sort of rules and ethics system in place. Now, some people, especially coaching companies, I will say, we're not perfect, and I'm not trying to be like, come to us because I just want you guys to be happy. But if you don't align with someone's sale process, don't expect to align with the program. So if someone's really sold you into the program, and if someone can manipulate their program to fit you, that's a bad sign. They're just trying to sell you in. A lot of these coaching companies employ what's called setters or salespeople, and they're on commission base. So it's in their best interest to set an appointment with you, and it's in their best interest to sell you into the program. And it is so interesting to watch because it's these people that, do they really care about you or do they care about your commission? It's so interesting because it's just like, it's just cooked. And then you look at the business model of that and it's like, okay, I have to pay a setter, a salesperson, and 40 to 100 grand in marketing every single month. So I've got to spend all this money on client acquisition to convert 50% of people. Now, how are you going to build a business like that as a tradie, as a Sparky in Dubbo, as a Sparky on the Central Coast, aka the Sunny Coast, as a Sparky in the Northern Rivers, as an air conditioning lord in the Sunny Coast? How are you going to employ these 2 or 3 salespeople, use disgusting upsell techniques, and how are you going to throw all this money at marketing just at the chance of maybe getting a job? And even if you could do that, would do that, should do that, that's all cool. Is that what you actually want to do? Now, marketing in its essence is very simple. Spend $1, get $5 back. I get it. But You've got to stay true to yourself, stay true to your ethics system, stay true to your ethos, stay true to the business that you want to create, because you are the only you in this world, and you are special and you are ordained, and the trade gods have put you in this position at this time of life, at this stage of life, for the God-ordained destiny, the trade God-ordained destiny of making money, building wealth, and being kind, of generating revenue, driving profits, and controlling your time. And if you can just work with the right people and work for the right people, you will find your life to be quite easy. And you'll find business to be like, I'm excited to go to work today. And that doesn't mean there won't be challenging conversations. There's always a conversation. You need to have it with who and how many times will you have that conversation before it's like, okay, that's too many times now. I need to stop. So you've got to set these boundaries and parameters, but make no mistake, life is too short to be working with the wrong people. So huge issue is you're fully aware of one of these red flags, major red flags, and you're not doing anything about it. That is not a thing. You need to stop doing that. Take your head out of the sand. Often these problems are solved by either paying someone that knows what they're doing, or solved by taking your head out of the sand and getting a day or two to get back on top, take a breathing space. What's my actual financial position? How do I set myself up on wages? Who do I need to employ that is the right person in the right seat? Because you got to have the right people in the right seats. And how do you get better? And how do you get better? Don't forget, you are the problem and you are the solution. And that should encourage you. Business is no joke. You win big or you lose big. And I want you to win big. And I know that you want to win big. And you know that I know that you know that I know that you know you want to win big. That is a dodgeball reference, and we are signing off on this now and forever. Be blessed. Peace to you guys. Look after yourselves out there. See you guys soon. That's a wrap on another episode of the Sparky Coach podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. It would mean a lot to us if you could like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, and leave a comment if you think that pleases the electrical gods. And we hope this episode and all our episodes propel you in your trade God ordained destiny of making money, building wealth, and being kind. Thanks so much for all your support. See you guys soon.